what areas of Western music do you think are mostly dominating in these corpuses?
Well, in general, what has been marketed and produced by the music industry, right? So popular musics.
And are there any approaches, at least, and I say this because there is this overshadowing factor of Dolly and the visualization models, of being able to generate almost anything because of the pre-training that they've received. But music has lagged to a certain degree on that front because of the many different disciplines that exist within it. Are there any approaches of having, for example, pop music specific AIs or classical specific music AIs?
Yeah, of course, there are many approaches that really try to build specific models for specific musical styles. Yes, I mean, if you just think about all the publication and attempts that have been around that try to compose music in the style of, name it, Bach or Mozart, and, well, of course, mostly composers of the, again, Western classical corpus.
And do you think that it is perhaps to a certain degree because of the structure of these musics as well? I know that you work with the tempos in music and the way you can meter it, and Indian music has a completely different structure to it. Persian music or Arabic musics have different structural differences with Western music. I wonder which... it's hard, of course, to be objective in these questions.
I think there's no simple explanation for it. I mean, one point is, of course, that this music is music that is very, or that is traditionally being notated in the form that most of the people developing these things can read and understand, and also because of that phrase into some kind of machine learning models, right? So since you brought up the example of Indian music, I mean, Indian music is, well, traditionally it's not being notated, right? So, and the Western classical canon is, well, that's the tradition that established the notation in the form that we have it. So, and I think this complex relation of the music to the notation formats kind of makes it more easy to approach it with an engineering mind, right? At least with probably with a Western culturally centered mind. So, yeah, I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I kind of think that it was to some degrees with these approaches, both in the 19th and 20th century, to kind of mathematicize both language and music to some degrees as well. So perhaps these different Western disciplines have had influences on...
How was the word mathematizing?
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
I mean, that is also. I mean, if you speak with Indian percussionists, they love to do that, right? Indian percussionists love to do very complex ratios of rhythms, and they are very conscious about that. So it's very much about mathematics for Indian percussionists.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I always am fascinated by the Fibonacci sequences that come out of percussionists in Indian music. But I mostly mean in the sense that, especially, I think, from a positivistic approach of mathematics and philosophy, they try to have confined rules for almost anything, especially in the beginning of the 20th century. But of course, the Western canon in terms of music has been similar to the current status to some degree or another from the 17th century, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I think this whole logic that is to some extent behind that is, of course, is something that is very, it's very attractive to think of that in terms of data structures and since you called it also positivist approach, so that you would basically think that everything that you can symbolize in that way, that this is a complete representation of the music that you have in front of you, that this actually works. I mean, that's very much, maybe that's kind of what we can see in engineering approaches, and their focus to the Western musics, maybe. Yeah.